International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, charged by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi started today a welcome visit to the southern province of Tindouf, accompanied by a ministerial delegation. On the 83rd day of the savage Zionist aggression on the Gaza Strip, dozens of Palestinian civilians were killed and others were injured, most of them children and women. The World Health Organization has insisted that the population of the Gaza Strip is in great danger, underlining that hunger and despair are worsening in the Palestinian territory. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Zamani. Charged by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi started today a welcome visit to the southern province of Tindouf, accompanied by a ministerial delegation. In the province of Tindouf, the Prime Minister has announced the government has allotted a budget of 4.6 billion Algerian dinars aimed at improving water services as part of the complementary program of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. Speaking to reporters about the health sector in the province of Tindouf, he had the following.
The President of the Republic committed himself and fulfilled all his commitments. In the health sector, a blood filtration unit has been inaugurated in the Al Hawaz hospital in a short period of time, as well as a unit for the treatment of cancer. And we are working to expand the medical specialties in the same hospital. In addition to the presidential decision to increase the salaries of the doctors and to provide them with a good accommodation to enable them to carry out their work in the best way possible. In the irrigation sector, there is a project for the creation of a wastewater treatment plant, and they announced the completion of each study, and the budget has been decided within the framework of the program dedicated to the water sector, estimated at 3 billion Algerian dinars.
Mr. Al-Arbawi also announced the launching of a free trade zone in the province of Tindouf before the end of the first semester of the year 2024. The Prime Minister also announced the relaunch of the National Fund for Social Works program to support rural housing with a budget of 30 billion dinars. Evoking the complementary program, he had this to say.
The supplementary program decided upon by the President of the Republic was approved by the last Council of Ministers with a budget of 29.5 billion dinars. This budget is in addition to the current program with a budget of 49 billion Algerian dinars.
The Prime Minister will also inquire about the progress of work on the railway line, an important project designed to link the town of Tindouf to Bashar, as far as the Garaj Bilet mine, which is one of the foundations of the President of the Republic's complementary vision. The Prime Minister is accompanied by Interior Minister Ibrahim Rad, among other ministers and government officials. Now, Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi chaired Wednesday a government meeting devoted to examining the measures taken by the sectors concerned to ensure the availability of basic products on the markets and price stability in order to protect the citizens' purchasing power in accordance with the participatory economic approach formulated with the various representatives of the professional organizations concerned. The government also examined the proposals for improving and rationalizing university facilities with a view to improving students' living conditions, promoting the various services, and rationalizing the state's efforts on behalf of this important category of society in implementation of the instructions of the President of the Republic. Now, the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, has chaired a meeting of the Preparatory Commission for the International Parliamentary Conference in solidarity with the Sahrawi people. And during the meeting, Brahim Boughali listened to presentations on several aspects of the preparations underway for this international conference. On this occasion, the APN chairman inquired about the progress of preparations and the implementation of his previous directives before listening to technical proposals concerning the event. As you followed in our top stories, on the 83rd day of the savage Zionist aggression on the Gaza Strip, dozens of Palestinian civilians were killed and others were injured, most of them children and women, in a series of raids launched by the occupation warplanes today at dawn on various sites in the Gaza Strip. WAFA correspondent said that an Israeli bombing on Deir el-Balah and the Maghazi camp in the central Gaza Strip left a number of dead and wounded. According to local sources, the occupation forces targeted a civilian car transporting wounded people from Deir el-Balah, which has led to the killing of everyone in it. They reported that at least 7 civilians were killed in a Zionist raid on a house in the Nusayrat camp in the central Gaza Strip. The city of Khan Yunis, south of the Gaza Strip, saw violent raids by occupation aircraft and artillery, which resulted in the killing and injury of dozens of civilians, most of them children and women. Now, some 8,800 children and 6,300 women have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the start of the Zionist aggression on the 7th of October. A press release from the Gaza Media Office stated that the number of killed in the Zionist attacks has risen to 21,320 Palestinians. The office also stated that 7,000 Palestinians were missing. Now, the head of the World Health Organization, WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has insisted that the population of the Gaza Strip is in great danger, underlining that hunger and despair are worsening in the Palestinian territory ravaged by the Israeli aggression since the 7th of October. The WHO said that it had been able to deliver supplies to 2 hospitals on Tuesday in the north and south of the territory, while 21 of the 36 hospitals in the Gaza Strip are no longer functioning, Said Bouazi reports.
The head of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, called on the international community to take urgent measures to mitigate the grave danger threatening the population of Gaza and compromising the ability of humanitarian organizations to deliver aid to a population suffering from terrible injuries, acute hunger, and a serious risk of disease. In a press release, the UN organization underlined that its team on the ground had reported on Tuesday that the need for food continues to be acute throughout the Gaza Strip. Starving people blocked our convoy in the hope of finding food, the WHO reported. The WHO's ability to provide medicines, medical supplies, and fuel to hospitals is increasingly constrained by the hunger and desperation of the people in the hospitals in question or who are on their way to them, the organization added. The safety of our teams and the continuation of operations depend on the delivery of more food to Gaza, immediately underlined the head of the WHO. He noted that the resolution adopted last week by the UN Security Council, which called for immediate and large-scale delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza, had raised hopes of an improvement. However, the WHO's findings on the ground show that, tragically, the resolution has had no effect at this stage, he said, adding that what we urgently need immediately is a ceasefire to spare civilians from continued violence and to begin the long road to peace and reconstruction.
The Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh has said during a new government session in Ramallah that the Zionist entity's relentless attacks on the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip is a sign of failure and reflects a deep malaise, assuring that the murderous madness of the Zionist leaders will not triumph over the will of the Palestinian people to achieve independence. He added that the Zionist entity is now at its lowest ebb, and those who gathered to support it at the beginning of the events are now ashamed of it and have disavowed it in or its support. Now, the Norwegian Refugee Council has warned that any attempt by the is by Israel to expel and permanently displace Palestinians inside and outside Gaza would be a serious violation of international law and a criminal atrocity. Jan Egeland, the Secretary General of the organization, said the forcible transfer and expulsion of a large population across the borders without any guarantee of return would constitute a serious violation of international law amounting to a criminal atrocity. More details with Said Bouazi.
Jan Egeland said that every country has an obligation to prevent war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide, each of which are criminal atrocities, urging all states to recognize and fulfill their duty to prevent these crimes and any incitement to commit them using appropriate and necessary measures. At this critical moment, the international community must unite by relying on the Security Council and by employing diplomatic, humanitarian and peaceful measures to protect all civilians against possible criminal atrocities, he pleaded. According to the Norwegian humanitarian organization, the massive destruction of homes and civilian infrastructure by the Zionist occupation, combined with the continuing bombardment and siege, have made Gaza unlivable and could lead to forced and prolonged displacement of the population across the border, with limited prospects for repatriation. A staggering 1.9 million Palestinians in Gaza, more than 80% of the population, have been internally displaced. The indiscriminate bombardment of Gaza by the Zionist army has damaged more than 250,000 homes, and a further 50,000 have been completely destroyed. As a result, more than 1 million people in Gaza are without a safe and secure home to return to, reports the same source. Finally, the NRC underlines that peace is the only viable solution for civilians. A durable ceasefire and conditions of armistice are essential to put an end to this suffering and to enable humanitarian aid workers to provide vital assistance to those in need.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said today that the severity of destruction in the Gaza Strip as a result of the ongoing Israeli aggression is hindering the delivery of relief aid to those in need. OCHA said in a statement that humanitarian operations are facing increasing operational challenges due to insecurity, blocked roads, scarcity of fuel, and extremely limited communication, stressing that these elements do not exist. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the occupied Palestinian territories, Francesca Albanese, has described the Israeli occupation authorities' decision not to renew visas for UN employees as moral cowardice. In a statement quoted by the WAFA news agency, Francesca Albanese said that it was time for the United Nations to punish the Zionist entity and hold it to account of its provocative acts. Said Bouazi again.
Francesca Albanese underlined that the United Nations has been weakened by decades of impunity for violations of international law, including the colonization of the occupied Palestinian territories and forced displacement, calling for the Zionist entity to be corrected. Last July, Francesca Albanese strongly condemned the human rights violations in the Palestinian territories occupied by the Zionist entity, stressing that these territories have been transformed into an open-air prison. When her report was examined by the Human Rights Council, Mrs. Albanese pointed out that generations of Palestinians have suffered systematic and widespread arbitrary deprivation of their liberty under the occupation. She said that more than 800,000 Palestinians, including children under the age of 12, have been arrested by the occupying forces since 1967. The occupying power portrays the Palestinians as a collective threat, aiming to strip them from their status as civilians and protected persons under international law, she denounced. She called on member states to fulfill their obligations not to assist or recognize Zionist settlements and the occupiers' progressive annexation of Palestinian land, and to use all diplomatic, political and economic measures to call the Zionist entity to order.
Now, next a program on mine exploitation in Algeria. Stay tuned.
The mining sector in Algeria, which has been underexploited for several decades, has witnessed in 2023 a genuine revival of its activities thanks to the decision of launching mega projects as part of a global vision based on strengthening the contribution of mineral resources to the diversification of the national economy and the support to manufacturing industries and agriculture in line with the guidelines of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, aimed at putting the mining sector among the state's priority sectors. Indeed, 2023 is the year of the mining sector by excellence, given the dynamics which have marked the sector, in particular through the launch of iron ore processing operations from the strategic deposit for Kharj Bilet, located in the southern province of Tindouf, one of the largest in the world and one of the most important national investments in the field of mining since independence. In this context, the state is focusing its efforts on the valorization of unexploited underground resources, one of the main axes of the strategy of diversification of the national economy, as part of the action plan for the period 2020 to 2024, with the aim of reviving the sector to contribute more effectively to national development. The visit by the President of the Republic to Kharj Bilet deposit, the first of its kind for an Algerian president since independence, constituted the effective starting point of this important project, an opportunity to emphasize the need to renounce to export of raw materials, particularly mining, with a view to creating added value in the national mining industry, which was strengthened this year by the launch of the zinc and lead deposit in Oued Amizour in the province of Rujaya, in parallel with the clear progress recorded in the integrated phosphate project, which covers 4 provinces in the east of the country. The Kharj Bilet project will achieve several objectives, including support for metallurgy industry, the achievement of iron self-sufficiency, the development of the southwest region of the country, and the promotion of exports. In addition to its significant economic benefits, the mine, whose reserves are estimated at 3.5 billion tons, is now a model of structuring project, whose implementation, the President of the Republic has insisted, should be done according to an integrated and complementary approach with the various industrial and infrastructure projects, especially since the project will contribute to strengthening the country's capacities with a view to relaunching heavy industries and ensuring better prospects for employment when its maximum capacity has been reached. From 2022 to 2025, 2 to 3 million tons of iron ore per year will be extracted. Then its capacity will increase as from 2026 to 50 million tons per year, in parallel to the implementation service of the Kharj Bilet Beshar mining railway line, which stretches over 950 km distance. As part of the same approach for the development of the Kharj Bilet mine, the latter will be reinforced by the steel complex in the province of Beshar, the completion of which is planned in 2026 with an investment of $1 billion. Mine development and exploitations activities are able to create national economic dynamics, contribute to development of the mining sector as a whole, accelerate the path of diversification of the national economy, and promote non-hydrocarbon exports. The operation of the mine will be supervised by the National Iron and Steel Company Ferral in partnership with the Chinese consortium CMH. With a budget of approximately $7 billion, the integrated phosphate project in the east of the country is processing as a 3D path as part of the partnership agreement between ASMIDO and the industrial group Managim El Jazair Menel on the one hand, and the 2 Chinese companies, Wuhan and Tianan, on the other hand. This is a mega project which includes the development and exploitation of the phosphate deposit in Beled El Hadba in Tabessa, the chemical transformation of phosphates in Oued Kibirit in Souk Ahras, the production of fertilizers in Hajar Sud in the wilaya of Skikda, as well as the dedicated port facilities at the port of Annaba. The project will allow Algeria to become one of the main fertilizer producing and exporting countries with an annual production of more than 6 million tons of phosphate products. Given the importance of this integrated project for the development of the country, the construction of mining railway lines has been planned with a view to transporting the extracted raw materials on 4 sections with a total length of approximately 300 kilometers. Among the major projects on which Algeria is betting, the zinc and the lead deposit of Tala Hamza in the municipalities of Tala Hamza and Weda Mizor in the province of Bejaia, the foundation stone of which was laid last November. This new mining project, whose operation will begin in 2 years, will strengthen and increase the country's mining capacities and create added value in order to support the diversification of the national economy while taking into account the environmental aspect and sustainable development objectives, in addition to the creation of thousands of direct and indirect jobs. At the legal level, the mining sector will be consolidated by a new law, the preliminary draft of which was recently presented in a new version during the government meeting. The draft law aims to create a legal environment conducive and favorable of the development of the mining industry and an incentive framework for investors, in addition to promoting technology transfer. The result for an Algerian-Australian partnership, this zinc and lead deposit support project, aims to exploit and deposit containing a reserve of 34 million tons with the extraction of 2 million tons of raw minerals per year to produce 170,000 tons of zinc concentrate and 30,000 tons of lead concentrate. To find out more about the projects, let's listen to this interview conducted with the Director General of WMZ Company, which is the Algerian-Australian joint venture, in charge of managing the project, Mrs. Mariam Touati.
Tala Hamza Wed Amizur Zinc and Lead Project is a high-grade zinc and lead project located within the Wed Amizur lease area in the province of Bejaia in eastern Algeria. The project has been granted the status of public utility on account of its importance for the Algerian economy and its development. As a matter of fact, the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, indicated that the zinc-lead deposit of Tala Hamza Wed Amizur represented one of the world's largest reserves of these strategic metals, whose exploitation will boost economic growth in Algeria. We have the honor to host the Director General of Western Mediterranean Zinc, WMZ, which is the joint venture in charge of managing the project, Ms. Mariam Touati. Ms. Touati, hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International.
Thank you.
First of all, could you please give us a small overview of the Tala Hamza Wed Amizur Zinc and Lead project, how it started and who started it?
Tala Hamza Wed Amizur Zinc and Lead project is a joint venture between the Algerian public company Sonarem. It's the National Mining Research and Exploitation Company through its 2 subsidiaries, ENOF and ORGM. So this JV, this joint venture, was created in 2006 under the name of Western Mediterranean Zinc, WMZ. So the Algerian part, ENOF and ORGM shareholding is 51% and Teramin Australia shareholding is 49%. The main objectives of the joint venture is the evaluation of the Tala Hamza Amizur zinc and lead deposit reserves, exploration of the surrounding area of the deposit, carrying out the technical and economical feasibility study, and finally, operation of the deposit.
The Ministry of Energy and Mines has recently affirmed that all technical and financial conditions have been met for the effective launch of the project. When will the project kick off officially?
Yes, actually a detailed feasibility study was carried out by internationally renowned offices, including several technical aspects like the exploitation, processing, environmental and impact, as well as the economic study. So all necessary studies have been completed and validated by the competent authorities to assess the impact of the deposit exploitation, which allows us to launch the project before the end of the year, inshallah.
The instruction of launching the project as soon as possible was given by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, during a Council of Ministers meeting. This is evidence of the importance the President personally grants to this mine. In your opinion, how will the project contribute to developing the region and enhancing Algeria's economy in general?
Yes, so it was actually the subject of the national conference held on October 7 of this year at the University of Béjaïa, under the topic of the rarefaction of mineral resources and positioning of Algeria, also the role of the zinc-lead deposit of Tall Hamza Wad Amizour. So the increased global demand for metals and associated products in many industrial sectors had led the rarefaction of some of them, making access to these metal a direct issue on international markets. Hence, certainly the need to put in place proactive solution in the field of research, prospecting and exploitation to ensure their availability and meet local demand while reinforce Algeria's share in the global market. So the zinc and lead mine project, with its 53 million of tons of resources and exploitable reserves of 34 million tons for a production of 2 million tons per year, meet this local need and yes, certainly reinforce the share of our country in the world market, without forgetting, of course, the local advantages, like the creation of more than 700 direct jobs and 4,000 indirect jobs for the benefits of the university graduates, vocational training centers, and also the young people in the region.
The first feasibility study was based on a mining method known as the block caving method, but was soon replaced by another method which is more eco-friendly and which has less footprint on the mining lease and the environment. Could you please give us more details on this particular method?
The first feasibility study was in fact based on a mining method block cave, the mass caving, but it was not quickly replaced as you mentioned, but it took 4 years from 2010 to 2014 to replace it by the backfill method, which required the redesign of all the feasibility study. So this operating method allows the extraction of ore in low resistance rock, which is the case of the rock in the area here, Tall Hamza and Amizour, and it consists of descending galleries to extract the ore, which will be treated in the processing plant by a flotation system. Approximately 70% of the processing rejects from the plant will be used as a backfill inside the galleries, which makes the use of the tiling dam unnecessary. And the water coming from the mine is completely treated in the water treatment plant planned on inside the site of the mine, and this is what makes this method very protective for the environment.
So, Ms. Touati, allow me to go back to a very important aspect, which is the aspect related to the impact on the environment. How is this aspect tackled in the feasibility study? What can we say to reassure the citizens of the region and Algerians as a whole?
Yes, the environmental study were carried out by internationally renowned offices such as ATC William. So all the environmental aspects were carefully studied: hydrology of surface and groundwater, biodiversity, air quality, noise pollution, climate, soil and river sediments, water management plan, cultural and archaeological legacy, visual aesthetics. So, and also as I explained earlier for the extraction method, the back and fill, it's a very protective method for the environment.
Ms. Touati, thank you very much indeed for this rich interview. I recall that you are the Director General of Western Mediterranean Zinc, WMZ, which is the joint venture in charge of managing the project in Algeria. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
It's worth recalling that Algeria, through its new approach aimed at decreasing its dependence on hydrocarbons, is endeavoring to valorize all the resources that the country abounds, which including mineral resources and agricultural products.